You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. I know whenever we look through a scouting lens, like projecting to the next level, the answer to this question might be different. But I want to ask it in a specific way. Is Jaden Daniels playing the best football of any college quarterback right now?
I think you'd be hard-pressed to find – I don't care. It doesn't matter conference or level. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody better. What's he not doing? He's using his feet. He's commanding the line of scrimmage. He's elevating the room and the game and the people around him. I know I understand the Army game and the bye this week, but he elevates. If their defense was typical LSU, you'd be in the national title hunt.
Ooh.
You would. You would be in that, because to me, you got to have that guy in that position to get you there. Look around at, I mean, Georgia, while I know they're loaded, but their quarterback's been playing better, and he's getting better every week. Every week. Sorry about that.
My dog are here, bro.
My 100-pound bully loves Jaden Daniels as well. So there you go. There you go. He's like, Pops, yeah, tell him he's a Heisman guy.
Know where his vote's going.
Yeah, that's right. You know what he hasn't done, man? And, you know, we could sit here and go there, and maybe by the time as we go, we start to break down what I see in him on for Sundays and stuff.
Yes.
But you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody better. And they are at 6-2, similar to my team, as we talked about at SC, that the defense against good teams has struggled and taken themselves out of the national title hunt. But both have quarterbacks that, quite frankly, are carrying their teams. Now, I personally think that the number 1 and 2, you can flip them however you want. Because they're undefeated, J.J. McCarthy is going to get more love. His stats aren't going to be as gaudy. I think he's like 18-3 touchdowns to interceptions, but he's a really good two-dimensional type player. But there's nobody playing better. Penix has had his fall-off game. Caleb Williams and that defense. And sometimes here's what happens, Matty. We throw the quarterback in with the defense if they're struggling. You know what I'm saying? You get beat and give up 50. All of a sudden we say, well, the quarterback must not have played well. Well, look at Brock Purdy last night. Played a pretty damn good game, but they get beaten. All of a sudden we're saying, well, what happened? Well, he may have missed a few, but Purdy played pretty decent. It's the same thing here and with Caleb. But to me, Caleb's fallen off. Michael Penix, great player. This doesn't mean they're not going to be great on Sundays, but right now in college, we saw Drake May have his problem. I mean, you go through it all the guys that we mentioned, there's 2 that haven't had their – and the Michigan schedule has been pretty easy. He's going to have his chance against the Ohio States and Big Ten, and he's doing it against SEC schools. So I don't think there's anybody playing better. If there is, I haven't seen him. Now, Sundays, we'll see as we get closer and evaluate this in January where they have him ranked regularly. But I'll go to bat for Daniels on a regular basis, and I think that he's 1 and 2 with J.J. McCarthy if voters had the guts to say, well, they're not a Final Four team right now, so how can we? Marvin Harrison's in it. Bowers is in it. There's non-quarterbacks. But the Jaden Daniels, you won't beat him if your defense plays. He can beat anybody in the country with his game, and he has improved even after the way he ended last year and got better. Yes. So a long answer is yes. He's playing as well as anybody in America and has not had that major stub his toe game. And he gets Alabama and the rest of it. He keeps going. He'll not only be in New York, but you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody playing better than him at that position offensively.
Did you work, when you do your scouting, your work with your tutoring with quarterbacks, did you work with Jaden at all when he was in high school or when he was at Arizona State?
I did not, but I know people who, you know, I've spent a lot of time in Scottsdale with a bunch of people and have trained quarterbacks out there. I did not.
So
I have not, but I could tell you this. He went from that guy who's here's one, man, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Guys, like, I've had conversations with quarterbacks who are two-dimensional that got great feet and that can throw it as well, with a bunch of them. And you know what they hate? Now, we all like to be called a great athlete, though, right? When we're younger and hey, guy's a great athlete. But you know what we really want? Is you want to be a great quarterback first who happens to be a great athlete, not the other way around, right? And I think when he came in, a dynamic playmaker. But you always heard everything else when he was at Arizona State. Oh, what a great freshman. But is he a great quarterback? And I can tell you, when I judge a quarterback, is what'd you do when you first came into where you are now? Did you level off? Where's the ceiling? Where's the floor? I think he's gotten better every step of the way, and it's a different system in a tougher conference, at least usually overall. Maybe not this year in the Pac-12 compared to the SEC, but he's playing in a tougher conference as well, Coach. I'd take him with anybody in America when it comes to having to win on Saturday. He's gotten better every year and every week, it seems to me.
So that is a good segue, though, because what I'm curious about is when you look at scouting prospects to the next level, where are the holes for Jayden that don't have him in the same category as Caleb Williams and Drake May, like right now at the top of people's draft boards? Because Jayden seems to be, when you look at that, in maybe like that next tier of guys.
I think, Matty, this is going to sound harsh to some. I think you get a lot of experts or so-called experts that guess. I do. I think, okay, well, he's a little more slight of body than Caleb Williams' lower half, or he's not as tall and pure a thrower. We put these narratives on guys. I always laugh when the season's over. Guys haven't run, haven't thrown, haven't done anything, and guys rise and fall in the offseason more than they do in 11-on-11 in full gear in a playing against good competition. I'm like, what happened between January 15th and February 12th that had the guy dropping 47 slots and he didn't do anything? What would he do? Because somebody started a narrative? I think, Matty, we're intrigued with that 6'5", 230-pound guy.
Yeah.
I know a bunch of those guys who can throw it through a car wash and it won't get wet but can't hit the car wash. Jaden Daniels, to me, I'm past the point now of all this, the look, the tangible stuff, the measurables. I'm 6'5", 230. Damn, there's plenty of guys at 6 foot, 195 pounds that can throw it better or more accurate. So I think probably the fact that they still, because of the Mays and the Caleb Williams and the Michael Penix, and like last week, 11-15 plays a half basically and doesn't have the gaudy numbers that you'd normally have if you played a full game because they smoked Army. I really, and I need to, and I usually wait till December and January to talk to guys that actually are still in the NFL. What do you think about him specifically? A lot of it's just guys writing what they see with the naked eye. It's not hardcore study. When I study him, I see a guy with really good feet who's become more poised and keeps his head up the field and gets through progressions, who can, I don't want him to take some of the hits you and I have talked about that he takes, but I'm not intrigued with 6'5", 230 anymore. It's nice. I'm intrigued with a playmaker who elevates the people around him and has got that miss-me body that can handle a hit, that's got mental, physical, and emotional toughness. I'd love to sit down and talk with him where his head is, but I like guys who make people better. Listen, 6'5" guys get hurt, 5'11" guys get hurt, 6'2" guys get hurt, but I'm not as intrigued like some are. I'm intrigued with, are you a playmaker, football playing Jesse? And I think he is, and I think we've long got by, I hope, even though they could do the same thing, the 6'5" guy will get taken before the 6'1" guy, if everything else was equal, because they're just intrigued with it. I'm not. And there's nothing Jaden Daniels does now, and I can't imagine NFL. He may not have the same arm as a guy like, Andrew Luck when he came out, or John Elway, but that's overrated too, which is for another contest or another segment next time, because that's my trait. That's about 5 or 6. If you can make the throws with accuracy and process information and throw to windows on time, I can win with you. That's the number one thing. So you'll hear a lot of ups and downs, but I want to know a guy got better and if he hit his ceiling, because I can tell you guys who have. Jaden Daniels hasn't.
Sean, we'll next week when we have you, we'll be able to go deeper dive previewing LSU and Alabama as both teams are going into their open date. But I'm curious if you have like an early thought before we like really peel back the layers of the onion to look at. Do you have an early thought on that here? A week and a half out.
Yeah, I think that if you force them to play from behind, meaning Alabama, Matty, and they got to throw regularly, I think you can beat them. Now, say that we know how well coached are. The difference is they apply their will to teams and they're physical up front. Milroe's got good versatility. But if you force them to throw it 40 times, I don't think they're good. They're going to win if it's a close game. So for me, the early thing is get out in front, and it's going to come down to this. Are you stout enough on defense to make them beat you throwing it? I don't think they can. If it gets into one of those contests, Milroe ain't. If it goes back and forth, advantage LSU. LSU's defense is something that's in physicality up front. Alabama's going to rely on option running it, RPO, and playing downhill football. But if you make them chase, and they got to throw to win. I thought LSU. I think this is a very winnable game, but if they're out in front and it's close and they stay on schedule with what they want to do, and he can mix in the throw, then you're in trouble. To me, if you can win on first down, long yardage, and make them run, and he gets 6 yards, but you still got a punt, it'll have to be LSU's best game to date. Why? Because the physicality of Alabama, even though the finesse doesn't look the same as it has in the past, advantage LSU there. But don't let it be 14-14 in the fourth and they can run the ball. Yeah. Make them play from behind. I don't think they can throw it and beat a team that's got the ability to put 40 on somebody every week.
Man, I'd be thrilled if we're in the fourth quarter and LSU's only allowed 14. If that's the case, Sean, I think LSU's up 35-14 in the fourth quarter.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
if they have that out-of-body,
I hear you.
That out-of-body game and maybe get a short field on an interception.
Yeah.
Listen, he's a Katy kid, Milroe, and I like him. And I know his pops, but I can tell you this, he's not dropping back to throw it and beat you. If you got to throw it 40 times and he's playing from behind, LSU will win that football game.
He's been sacked 30 times in 7 games.
Man, you know what? Real quick, you know the misconception. You're talking about Milroe, right? Mm-hmm. You know the misconception about guys who got great feet is a lot of times they know they do, and that they can lean on that. So what do? I've seen it in the NFL. I've seen it in the NFL with guys. A lot of times those guys lead the league at the top of the league in sacks. Why? Unless it's a bad offensive line. Because they run themselves into sacks because they bail out on their progressions and decisions early because that's their lean on it crutch. The guys who don't have that, I'm going to hang in here and get to my third guy. It's a tight end sitting down. So, yes, those guys will run into sacks. LSU's got a real shot coming out of that bye week to do this. They got to stay on schedule and force Alabama to play behind the sticks and have to throw it.
We'll go deep dive into LSU Alabama when Sean's with us next week. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Sean Unfiltered. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you check out Pro Sports Fans as well. Sean, we appreciate it as always, man. We're looking forward to next week coming off the bye for LSU and hopefully a win for the Saints going to Indy.
Always love joining you, brother. You're a top shelf, man. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.